Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you as we close in on our 20th anniversary. It'll be 20 solid years coming up this October, and a lot has changed over the past 20 years. We'll have some shows this next week, kind of our greatest hits show. Our studio closes down around Independence Day, so we'll have a greatest hits show and some other things coming up. I'll be off to Japan myself. I have a meeting in Kyoto, Japan to speak at the Kyoto Hemp Forum. You can find out more about that at kyotohempforum.com. That's Kyoto, Kyoto, hempforum.com. One of the most exciting things about the Kyoto Hemp Forum is that the keynote speaker is the First Lady of Japan, the wife of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Her name is First Lady Akie Abe, and she will be talking about hemp in traditional Japanese culture. Part of the event will also be at a Shinto shrine, hemp and cannabis being essential to the Shinto spiritual belief system. So we'll be talking about that. That'll broadcast live on Casper's Crazy Network, Hemp Time for Hemp. We'll talk more about that. Standing by in the wings is our good friend, Mr. John Cornett. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
Pretty well. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Right next to me is that crazy guy, Mr. Casper Leach. I have a pretty lengthy and detailed hemp news segment for you tonight. But first, before we bring on the news, we will bring on those infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
Feel the force.
Yeah, Casper wants the camera.
That's a classic hit.
Okay. So our first story tonight is one about the federal government. The Drug Enforcement Administration is responding to a claim by an anonymous DEA lawyer that the federal agency plans to reschedule cannabis to Schedule 2 on August 1st. In fact, the DEA had said they were going to reschedule cannabis this summer, and so the story was first reported by the Santa Monica Observer, and the Internet of Weed jumped all over it. Well, not everyone did. Some realized that a story based on a single anonymous source is a very questionable scenario. However, now the DEA has been forced to comment. As we've reported before, the DEA actually is expected to respond to a petition calling for the reclassification of cannabis. And in an interview with New Domain, DEA Staff Coordinator Russ Baer wouldn't confirm or deny the Observer's report, but gave several indications that rescheduling might happen soon. Baer stressed the complexity of the cannabis plant, pointing out, according to him, hundreds of chemical actors or cannabinoids. Baer said, quote, also, we're talking about synthetic THC, CBD-based treatments, oils, extracts, edibles, he said. The challenge for researchers and government agencies, according to him, is to identify the parts of the plant that might benefit and separate out the beneficial parts from the ones that aren't beneficial or harmful, end quote. Baer, none of them are harmful. Baer also said the federal agency is interested in making cannabis research easier, which rescheduling would accomplish. According to Baer, he says, quote, we do want to remove the roadblocks for research, end quote. Initially, the DEA was expected to make a decision on rescheduling by July 1st, but now it seems as if the agency isn't sticking to that leaked deadline. According to Baer, he says, quote, we aren't holding ourselves to any artificial deadline, quote, end quote. In any case, Baer's statement reflects the DEA's changing perspective on the drug war. Baer continued, quote, We have limited resources. Remember, marijuana is important, but our efforts are mainly focused on the nation's growing opioid crisis, end quote. In the Senate, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren has signed on to a letter asking the Drug Enforcement Agency and the U.S. Department of Justice for an update to their decision to reclassify marijuana at the federal level. In addition to Warren, the senators who also signed on are Warren Markey of Massachusetts, Barbara McCuskey of Maryland, Barbara Boxer of California, Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley right here in Oregon, Kristen Gillibrand of New York, and Cory Booker of New Jersey. What I want to say is that Schedule 2 is not good enough. Schedule 2 is not legalization. Cocaine is Schedule 2. Cannabis is completely non-toxic and almost always beneficial. It's the oldest and most productive crop sown and should be completely descheduled, legalized, and, of course, celebrated. Cannabis is fuel, fiber, food, fun, and medicine, and we need to restore hemp. Our next story tonight is from the U.S. Congress still. Despite bipartisan majority support in both the House and Senate, the GOP leadership has blocked a fix to the dangerous banking crisis and also stripped a provision allowing VA doctors to discuss medical marijuana with patients. Recent actions by congressional leadership have derailed two common-sense, majority-favored marijuana policy reform proposals that have been expected to pass through the appropriations process. We here at Cannabis Common Sense, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, and our political arm, Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, call on the members of Congress to work to restore those provisions as the budget negotiation process continues. Bipartisan majorities in the House and Senate have supported the common sense, compassionate idea that law-abiding cannabis businesses shouldn't be forced into dangerous all-cash operations, and that veterans who have put themselves in harm's way for our country should be allowed to learn about how medical marijuana could help them deal with the psychological and physical aftermath of their sacrifice. So there, Congress, get on the ball. On Wednesday night, in the dead of night, as House Democrats held a sit-in for gun safety, House Republicans stripped language away that would have made it easier for qualified veterans to access state legal medical marijuana from legislation to fund the Department of Veterans Affairs, or the VA. With no transparency and little opportunity for members to review, the House passed this legislation shortly after 3 a.m. local time, night before last. The Senate will vote on the legislation next. Our Oregon Representative Earl Blumenauer and Senator Jeff Merkley released the following statement. They said, quote, "Our language ensuring fair treatment for our veterans had broad bipartisan support and passed both chambers. It's outrageous that it's removed. To add insult to injury, the legislation was released in the middle of the night, not even giving members of the House an opportunity to review the language before voting on it. This isn't right for our veterans or the American people. We will keep fighting to make sure our wounded warriors have equal treatment and the ability to consult with their VA medical providers about medical marijuana as a treatment option." End quote. I want to thank our Portland Representative Earl Blumenauer and Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley for that kind statement. According to a new survey out this week, Oregon is second in the nation when it comes to the most marijuana used in the United States. Colorado is number one. No surprise. Colorado has been legal longer than Oregon was. They looked at the percentage of people 12 years and over who reported smoking marijuana in the past year in surveys from the SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, a federal agency, conducted in 2013 and 2014 to find out who smokes the most weed. Marijuana continues to become more acceptable in Oregon. Today, a ruling in Eugene said that Lane County was wrong for firing a 60-year-old prostate cancer survivor for using marijuana when he was off the clock. The fact that Oregon isn't number one yet probably has a lot to do with the fact that it's only been legal to sell in Oregon since October 1st of last year, only less than 9 months ago. With our stock regulatory officials out there, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed civil litigation against penny stock company Hemp Inc. and several affiliates, including CEO Bruce Perlowin, on June 20th. The complaint alleges that Perlowin and the company were behind a long-running scheme of phony gifting of shares and bogus consulting agreements that allowed insiders to sell hundreds of millions of shares not properly registered. The SEC is also alleges that Perlowin and other defendants made false statements to broker-dealers, and Perlowin's brother Jeb were among the other defendants. Perlowin co-founded another cannabis penny stock, Medical Marijuana Inc., in 2009, but left in 2011 to form Hemp Inc. Since then, the company has produced lots of press releases and additional shares, but not much else. The company would regularly borrow money from Perlowin and then allow him to convert it into equity by issuing him preferred stock at a significant discount to its real value. I think there's a lot of that going on with these companies these days. You know what? I blame Canada. Out of Arkansas, supporters of medical marijuana in Arkansas turned in thousands of signatures on Monday in an effort to put their proposal on the state's ballot this fall. Arkansans for Compassionate Care submitted 117,469 signatures to the Arkansas Secretary of State's office while calling on backers of a competing campaign to end it. The Secretary of State's office has 30 days to review the petitions and determine whether the group has the 67,887 valid signatures needed to get their act on the ballot. It would legalize marijuana for patients with a qualifying condition and a doctor's recommendation. Down in California, the Campaign in Support of the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, or OMA, A-U-M-A, which will appear on the November 2016 statewide ballot in California, said this past Monday that it had received the official endorsement of the California Democratic Party, or CDP, the largest statewide Democratic Party organization in the nation. The CDP enjoys the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, the largest local Democratic Party organization, and the San Francisco Democratic Party in endorsing the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. While the CDP has long held as part of its official platform putting an end to the failed and costly policy of marijuana prohibition in California, this is the first time in state history that a major political party has officially endorsed a specific cannabis legalization ballot measure. Very nearby, across the desert in Arizona, Congressman Ruben Gallego on Monday announced that he is endorsing an initiative poised for the November ballot that would end marijuana prohibition in Arizona and replace it with a system in which marijuana is regulated and taxed similarly to alcohol. U.S. Congressman Gallego said, quote, "Forcing sales of this plan into the underground market has resulted in billions of dollars flowing into the hands of drug cartels and other criminals. We'll be far better off if we shift the production and sale of marijuana to tax-paying Arizona businesses that are subject to strict regulations. It'll also allow the state to direct law enforcement resources toward reducing violence and other more serious crimes." Gallego went on to say, "I am proud to support this initiative as it represents a far more sensible approach to marijuana for the state of Arizona. It will make Arizona communities safer while also generating some much-needed tax revenue for our schools." End quote. Gallego, a Democrat who represents Arizona's 7th congressional district, which includes Central and South Phoenix, as well as western Maricopa County communities, announced his endorsement at a news conference on the House lawn of the Arizona State Capitol. He was joined by leaders of the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, which is supporting the initiative. In the federal capital of Canada, who I blame, Ottawa, Canada, rising rates of medical cannabis use among Canadian military veterans are associated with a parallel decline in the use of prescription opioids and benzodiazepines, according to federal data recently provided to the Globe and Mail, largest newspaper in Canada. Prior assessments from the United States reported that incidences of opioid-related addiction abuse and mortality are significantly lower in jurisdictions that permit medicinal cannabis access as compared to states that do not. Out in Boston, Massachusetts, the Bay State, cannabis inhalation is associated with the alleviation of clinical symptoms in patients with bipolar disorder, or BPD, according to clinical findings published in the open access journal PLOS-1. Investigators at Harvard Medical School and McLean Hospital in Boston assessed the effects of cannabis inhalation on mood and neuropsychological performance in patients with bipolar disorder over a period of several weeks. The researchers reported that bipolar patients experienced decreased levels of various clinical symptoms, including depression, mania, anger, and anxiety, after inhaling cannabis. Although marijuana-using subjects did perform more poorly on certain cognitive tests compared to healthy controls, those subjects performed no differently than did comparable bipolar disorder patients with no history of cannabis use. The authors concluded, quote, direct analysis of marijuana smoking BPD patients before and after marijuana use revealed notable symptom alleviation within 4 hours of smoking, such as significantly lower scores of anger, tension, and depression, as well as higher levels of vigor with regard to cognitive performance. Marijuana smokers and bipolar disorder patients perform more poorly than healthy controls overall. However, within the BPD patients, impairment was observed regardless of marijuana use status. Taken together, the study findings suggest that marijuana use may result in at least short-term mood-term stabilization for a subset of BPD patients, and further, that marijuana use does not have an additive negative impact on cognitive performance in bipolar disorder patients, end quote. This study is the first clinical trial to examine the effects of cannabis on both mood and cognitive performance in BPD patients. Bipolar disorder is estimated to affect 5.7 million American adults. The full text of this study, a pilot investigation of the impact of bipolar disorder and marijuana use on cognitive function and mood, appears online in PLOS 1. Down south in Atlanta, the passage of statewide laws regulating the consumption of cannabis by adults or qualified patients is not associated with increased rates of teen marijuana use, according to statistical analysis provided by the Centers for Disease Control, which is based in Atlanta. The Federal Health Agency reports that the percentage of high schoolers ever having used cannabis fell from an estimated 43% across the USA in 1995 to just under 39% in 2015. The percentage of teens currently using cannabis, defined as having used marijuana at least once in the past 30 days, also declined during this same period from 25% in 1995 to just under 22% in 2015. During this time period, 24 states enacted statutes permitting qualified patients to consume cannabis, and 4 states enacted laws permitting the commercial production and retail sale of marijuana to all adults. The Centers for Disease Control's Youth Risk Behavior Survey results are consistent with those numerous other findings that changes in cannabis's legal status are not associated with increased use among adolescents. Separate statewide data released this week by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment similarly reported that youth marijuana rates remain largely unchanged in recent years and has declined overall since 2009. Our final story tonight is from right here in River City. On Wednesday, the Portland City Council referred to voters a 3% tax on recreational marijuana. Money raised would go to alcohol and drug treatment, support for small businesses, and public safety. Currently, recreational marijuana is taxed at a 25% rate here in Oregon. That'll drop to 20% starting in January. But cities and counties have the option of enacting a 3% local tax. Voters have to approve it, however. It'll be on the November 2016 ballot. The tax was proposed by Commissioner Amanda Fritz. She says it would raise $3 million per year, and the ballot measure would ensure the money doesn't go into the general fund. Fritz says the amount of tax revenue going to each cause will change every year based on input from the community during the budget process. Of course, we oppose Commissioner Fritz, and we think that a 25 and 20% tax is plenty, and they can raise money elsewhere. They shouldn't be taxing in addition to that. So that's our stance. That's the end of our Hemp News segment for tonight. Right over in the wing, standing by for all this time, has been Mr. John Cornett. Welcome back, John.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm good.
I wasn't going to do a John Prine song tonight, but then it just occurred to me there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world today.
There is.
So this song here by Charlie Lussman again, I think fits. So
I love this song.
Goes like this. Did you know the sun will shine one day and everything on earth will melt away? All the oceans rise above the land, drowning every woman, every man. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. We'll be just another asteroid floating through the mind of Sigmund Freud. So many years we've been up on this place. Do you believe the future that we face? Whoa, let's make the best of it now. 'Cause you never know when your time will pass. You've got to do just what you want to do. And if somebody tries to ruin your day, walk away. Did you notice that the world's so strange? 'Cause our atmosphere's about to change. So many reasons why we kill the beast. Life is passing with a subtle breeze. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. Another chapter as we turn the page. We exist within a nuclear age. I know that freedom's heard around the globe. Just where our future lies, well, nobody knows. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. 'Cause you never know when the sky will fall. Maybe the moon will leave the earth one day. When we're not the same race that we used to be. Can't you see? Now the next time that you fall in love, just appreciate the sun above. 'Cause the sun is shining on and on. So open up your eyes before it's gone. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. Whoa, let's make the best of it now. Whoa, let's make the best of it now.
All right. Thank you, John. I love that song. It's a good one. Hey, Casper.
Happy Friday. That
Happy
song
Friday.
was like everything on YouTube. I mean, Planet X is going to come in and destroy us in August, send hurtling big rocks to our planet to create craters out of every major city. Yellowstone is about ready to blow its volcano top. The earthquake in California is about ready to rumble.
And Britain just left the European Union.
And then the most horrifying thing is that they've guaranteed us that either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton will be taking the White House in January, which is more terrifying.
I think
than
we
the
might
earthquake
have Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party, or we might have Jill Stein of the Green Party. Each of them, in my opinion, are much better choices, and they both came and spoke at our Hempstock Festival here in Portland back in 2012.
A third party never wins.
Well, that's wrong, because the Republicans, when Abraham Lincoln won, he was a third-party member. It was the Whigs and the Democrats.
Once every 100 and some odd years.
Well, then the time has come. The time
Could
has
be.
come. We
Could
can
be.
hope. Hey, if you're watching out there tonight,
Make America great.
yeah, we are taking your phone calls. If you have questions about marijuana, hemp, medical marijuana, well, that's what this show's all about, folks. So give us a call at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. We also have a studio audience here, and if you'd like to come into our studio audience, then you just come on down here most Friday nights. Not next Friday, because next Friday I'll be in Japan, and the studio will be closed for the 4th of July, Independence Day. But the Friday after that, and most Fridays after that, you can check in and come down to 2712 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, because that's where we are, right at the corner of Graham Street and MLK. We have a live studio audience. There's a microphone. You can go on anonymously and ask us a question there, or give us a call. So you're gonna I'm gonna be in Japan next week.
You
but
are.
It'll be my first trip outside. I went through the airport in Japan back in 1988, almost 30 years ago, on my way to China. But I understand that there is this huge hemp forum there. Not only do I understand that, I'm going to go there to speak.
You are representing Time for Hemp there, and we appreciate that.
And you're going to be streaming this live.
We are Jay Nair from the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network.
Takashi Okanuga, he is the main organizer of the Japan Hemp Association. So Jay
Nair contacted
Takashi
him, and
both kind of brainstormed this.
They
and
put together this
Hey,
thing.
I'll go. If you want to put it on, I'll go.
They did.
And then they started putting together. And I said, you guys should ask the First Lady of Japan, the wife of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. She's come out for hemp. And her name is Akie Abe. And she's come out for hemp fiber, hemp fuel, oil, and medicine. So she and I will be sharing the stage along with Ben Dronkers, who has Cincy Seed, the world's largest marijuana seed company. He also has Hemp Flax, a company in Europe that makes hemp fiber for BMW, Mercedes-Benz, all the different European automakers make their auto body parts out of hemp flax. And Ben Dronker's company's material. Also, Paul Benham, a guy who's been pioneering hemp plastic around the world and has an Australian hemp food company right now. He's been making hemp plastics for about 20 years. He'll be there. Andrea Herman, who's been a guest on this show and past president of the North American Industrial Hemp Alliance. She'll be there. Several other folks will be there, including me. So I'm pretty excited about that. Chris Conrad. Yeah, that's right. Chris Conrad, who wrote his book, Hemp Lifeline to the Future. In fact, the name of his book, Hemp Lifeline to the Future, is the title of the conference. So we're excited about that, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Jay Nair brainstormed this.
She did.
This was
She
her
and
whole
Takashi
idea?
said, I think you guys should do a hemp conference in Japan. And so I told him about 6 months ago, well, if you do it, I will come and I'll participate. And one thing led to another, and now it's a full-blown thing. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm most excited about sharing the stage with the wife of a head of state. Japan is the world's third largest economy, recently passed out of second place by China. But
And her name is Mrs. Obi-Wan Kenobi?
No. Akie is her first name, and her family name is Abe. Her husband is Shinzo Abe, and she is Akie Abe. So that's her name. We are taking your phone calls, and I think we have a phone caller who's been patiently standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
How are you
Am
tonight?
I on the show?
You are on the show.
Oh.
There's a 6-second delay
I,
when the video goes out. So if you say anything horrible, we probably won't be able to cut it off even with 6 seconds.
well, I just want to say hi to, my name's Greg Ship. I just want to say hi to Paul and John, and I don't get a chance to do the show. I'm pretty busy with what I'm doing.
All right. John's happy to hear that. He's glad to see you watching. I'm happy too.
Well, I don't get it on my TV. I'm watching it on somebody else's. My TV doesn't get that channel.
Yeah, you got to have like Comcast or Prism Cable with, which is CenturyLink.
Yeah, well,
Or internet. You can see us on YouTube and Ustream.
And on Time for Hemp.
And on Time for Hemp.
yeah, I know, but I don't usually get to see the show live.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you
Yeah,
did.
I mean,
You should
I
come down
show up there
live and
sometimes.
join
I've
us.
been there for months.
Everybody who
Yeah.
come is invited to our after show party as well. And
Have you got a question?
I have no question. Is this Paul?
No,
that's Casper. I'm Paul.
Oh, all right. This is Greg Ship.
Hey, Greg. How you doing, bro?
I just called to say hi, you guys. That was a lot of news you had.
Yeah, there was a lot of news tonight.
I'm pretty busy with all this
I went on,
laws,
ranted for a
man.
while.
I mean, every week we got different laws.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, man.
There's
Hard to
good
get going
things
these
and
years.
bad things, but overall, Oregon's the best so far.
Yeah, I know it's best so far. But
But we
still,
can make it better.
I think the police are out of it now.
Well, yeah,
know,
mainly. Yeah, thank goodness
If we
they.
got a couple plants over, we can deal with them, can't we?
I think so.
That's good. That's good.
I know the Portland police won't bother you as long as you're not,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
something bad. breaking the law.
This is my 50th year in the pot business.
Well,
I've seen
hallelujah.
a lot of shit coming down. And
Yeah, me
it's
too.
pretty-
I first started seeing patients, helping patients right here in this TV studio back about 2000 or 2001, while Dr. Levesque was seeing patients in before and after the show. And
what kind of business
boy, has
do
it
you
grown.
I spent the day with a heroin addict that I've been.
Were you able to help him?
day, I've been using the medicine to get him off the heroin.
You know, some of these, I have these antique bottles, and some of them say specifically they're used for opioid addiction.
Well, this kid was pretty rough. He looked really good today.
Good. Well, good work,
That's
Greg. It's
terrific,
good hearing
isn't it?
from you. Come on down to our after show party if you got the time. Otherwise, maybe we won't be here next week.
I'm busy with I'm really busy with some other stuff right now, or else I would have been there because I got to see. I wanted to see John tomorrow, but we're busy.
All right. Well, now he knows.
Love you guys.
Hey, love you too, man. Hang in there. Thanks for your good work. Good wishes. If you're out there and you have a call or question for us tonight, you can call that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We have a studio audience member coming up to the microphone. If you come in and watch the studio audience, you can do that too. Go ahead, studio audience member.
Hey, I got a friend that's just going through a bunch of treatment for cancer,
that's terrible.
and he wants to try cannabis because we heard cannabis cures cancer. And so, how does he do that? How's he take it?
Well, you know, I recommend for cancer patients a high cannabinoid cannabis compound that some people call Phoenix Tears, other people call Rick Simpson oil. I like to just call it high cannabinoid cannabis oil. And you take about 5 ounces of marijuana and turn it into about 10 grams of this high cannabinoid cannabis oil. And then you take 1/3 of a gram 3 times a day. Then you have to take that over 60 days. So you need about 60 grams. So we're talking about 30 ounces of marijuana turned into a standard 60-gram anti-cancer treatment. And so that's what we recommend for most forms of cancer, and in many forms of cancer it will help. In fact, the Health and Human Services Bureau of the United States government has patented cannabis as an agent to help stop tumors, an anti-tumoral agent, and for pain relief. So on one hand, the DEA says marijuana has no medical utility whatsoever, and it's Schedule 1. And on the other hand, Health and Human Services has patented cannabis for pain and cancer. So go figure. It's contradictory, isn't it? There's so much that's contradictory about our plant. It's the oldest and most productive plant. You know, cannabis will change the world when we can grow cannabis again for fuel based not on its THC content, but on its fuel production capacity. When grown for fiber, it should be based on its fiber production capacity, not THC content. Low THC hemp, I call a subversion. It's a distraction. It's out there specifically to distract us from the real potential of hemp. High THC cannabis produces more than 20 times more oil. This flame is lit on a hemp wick with hemp oil, and it was the main illuminant for lamps for all of the earth until they started drilling for petroleum. And so this is the reason marijuana is illegal. It's not really about the drug. That's a smokescreen. It's really about fuel and fiber and money and power and the continued centralization of economic and political control. And when we can legalize hemp again without regard to its THC content, we will be able to replace most of the petroleum. In fact, we can grow 10% of all the world's agricultural land, about 5 million square kilometers out of 49 million square kilometers of land under cultivation. 5 million square kilometers, or 2 million square miles, and we can grow enough hemp oil to replace all the petroleum on Earth today, with just about 1/10 of the land used for agriculture. And the byproduct of pressing all those seeds for the oil would be protein, and that would wipe out world hunger, and fiber, and that would stop deforestation. And instead of all the money going to Exxon and Mobil and the Saudi sheiks and the Nigerian despots and the corporate criminals out there that are robbing the world and stealing our companies, it will go to the farmers, and the farmers will spend that money in their communities. And instead of seeing the further centralization of wealth on this planet, we'll see the decentralization of wealth and power, and that's what marijuana prohibition is all about. And so I think it's God's greatest gift to mankind.
Well, and not only will the farmers be spending their money in the community, oftentimes you hear that you can't get cheap steel in America. You got to get it in, some other country.
China.
Well, here, when you grow your hemp in your county, you're not going to send it to another country or state to be turned into paper or fuel. You're going to, at the most close place that you can locate, take it to a refinery and have it turned in and processed into the various products
we'll create
so
millions,
you will be creating
maybe
jobs,
billions of jobs.
That's the cool thing about it.
And instead
You
of it
create
going
jobs
to
at home.
destroy the planet, it will be going to save our environment and restore our economy.
But it really guarantees jobs at home because
Amen. Not just at
it's
home
out
in
the backyard
America.
where you're growing it.
When they're growing it in Africa, it will change the economic outlook in Africa. When it's grown in Asia, it will change the economic outlook in Asia. We need to grow it all over the world on 10% of the world's land, and it will wipe out world hunger, stop deforestation, and stop petroleum toxification and global warming. I
Come back
believe
with
that.
landslides
That's what
as
this
well.
show is about. And so we have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi.
Hey, how are you tonight?
Hi. My name is Demetria Candelaria.
Welcome, Demetrius.
Hi. I'm out of Vancouver, Washington.
Hey, cool.
Hey. We're neighbors.
Yeah.
So I do have a question for you.
Good.
Like, if somebody wanted to get involved with volunteering to spread awareness, who do we contact?
Give us a call at 503-235-4606. That number that's right there on your screen. Boy, those control room people are on top of it. 503-235-4606. And or you can drop us an email. Just send it to Paul at crrh.org. That's Paul at crrh.org. And we will help you help us and help the world.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I also am curious, do you guys have a newsletter that you send out to people
Yeah,
about stuff that's going on around in the neighborhoods or in events that
the
are
whole
going on?
world. Casper, you want to give them your newsletter?
We also have a newsletter on the timeforhemp.com website. It's about 20 pages in length. We keep it small, so if you want to print it out on a color printer in magazine format, you can do so for about $1.50. And a standard magazine like Time or Newsweek runs $5-6 off the stand, so you can make about 5 copies and the same amount of money and share it with your friends. And if you're a business, you can write it off on your taxes. And it's small enough to read on your smart devices and to also download the PDF and share it with your friends. Comes out once a month, and we keep up with the global marijuana movement as well. So make it a point to go to hemp.com and click on the newsletter and become a subscriber.
And
Okay.
we also have a news website in Spanish and English. The English language version is crrh.org/news. That address right there, crrh.org/news. And that's updated 4 or 5 times a day, 7 days a week, with about 40 different stories by about 5 different writers. And if you're better with Spanish, go to crrh.org/noticias.
And on the homepage of the timeforhemp.com website is a news tracker Yap app that you can put to your smartphone as well. It hooks you up to our Twitter. And our Twitter feed is basically headline news of the global marijuana movement as well. So there's a variety of ways of keeping on top of what's going on in your backyard and around the world.
Awesome. That's good news. I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and keep it going.
Thank
We
you.
will. Hemp
All
for
right.
victory.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have another caller. Let's see if we can bring him in. Welcome to the show, caller.
Okay, I guess that'd be me.
That's you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just called to say amen to the whole
Hemp for fuel.
conversation or whatever. Paul, I just think when people start talking politics, because I'm an astrologer and astrologers get together and they start talking about politics, it's kind of interesting to hear what they think might, come down. But I like to bring up that I'm Swedish, and I visited the Swedish Museum in Minnesota, a living history museum.
Uh-huh.
And the Swedes had a whole display. The museum was great, and part of it was about textiles.
And hemp.
And guess what? I took a picture of the sign that said, hey, the Swedes figured out that they could grow twice as much hemp as flax per acre.
Yeah.
And so they started doing that, and that they could use it for all the same purposes.
Yeah.
So I thought
Minnesota,
that was interesting. And
Wisconsin, and Kentucky were some of the biggest hemp producers up to about 100 years ago when the government started outlawing it and they started replacing it with petrochemical products.
I know. I happen to be of the age, and I grew up on a big farm in Minnesota, like 360 acres, and my dad did grow it for wartime. I was very young then.
Yeah.
He's talked about they had to have
a permit,
special, license and all.
Yeah, I have a copy, a couple of those licenses in my collection of hemp stuff.
I love your collection.
So you had a backyard 360 acres big to play in?
Yes.
That must have been
Wow.
More than that, but my dad actually grew up farming with horses. And so
And you remember him growing hemp during
really
World War
came
II.
into the world when he had all the tractors and the combines and all to handle growing all that corn, soybeans, and alfalfa.
But you remember during World War II when he was growing hemp.
I was very young then. I was born in 1843.
I
But
see.
he talked about it, and it just seemed like, we always talked about there must be some still growing in the ditches around here.
It's still growing wild, that's for sure.
And then I found out that the Minnesota mining plant in Hutchinson, which is near where I grew up, and my sister still lives there on a big, beautiful farm. That Minnesota mining 3M, before it was 3M, it was a hemp processing plant.
There were so many of them. Minnesota was a huge hemp production center, as was Wisconsin and Kentucky.
I know. So you're
And
getting
Nebraska.
me excited like that. I just
We're going to restore it. We have
I
to
said,
restore hemp
if
to
Obama wanted
to stop the
do something
petrochemical poisons.
big thing, he should.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in. We're down to just 13 minutes, but I want to thank you for calling.
People out of prisons. If it's just like hemp related.
Okay, well, listen, we got to go. I want to thank you again for calling. We're down to just 13 minutes, but we appreciate you calling. You know, we have a little film clip we're going to run now. This is Captain Ozone with his hemp oil chainsaw at the Hemp Fest. We'll be back just after this film clip. Here it comes.
Oh my God! Oh my God, it is Captain Ozone! I give you up. As seen on television, in real life at Seattle Hemp Fest, Captain Ozone.
Hey, Seattle, how's it going? Partying or what? All right. Anyway, I have a demonstration here of hemp. I will show you the power of it. Let's do it.
For those that you cannot see, they are now preparing the hemp fuel into the average, ordinary, everyday chainsaw, which has not been converted for this purpose. The fuel has been inserted. Oh my God, don't try this at home, folks. Step back.
El aceite de cáñamo puede lubricar variedades de motores, también puede ser usado para hacer plásticos.
Funny enough, we have something here for the police.
Okay, Captain Ozone at the Seattle Hemp Fest.
He rocks.
He did. I love that. I love that. You know, hemp for victory. So that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
That was.
We're down to just less than 10 minutes left. You know, we have some more good videos. We have a video with our mentors, a couple of our mentors. There are several of them. I got to go hang out last weekend with John Sajo. I moved to Oregon to help John Sajo in 1984 with the Oregon Marijuana Initiative, and I've been here ever since, 31 years now. But I got to go hang out with him this weekend at the Umpqua Valley Hemp Fest, and that was fun in the sun, a little bit of rain, but mostly sun.
I know what it's like. This movement can hijack a person's life. I went to...
I wouldn't call it hijack. I would call it enrich.
No, I was hijacked. I was going to be a comedy
Jack
writer.
hijacked you.
Yeah.
That was
and I went to work temporarily for this guy who had an office that needed to straighten up or a book he was trying to get out.
And speaking of, we have a video of Jack Harrer, who wrote his book in my house back in 1985 here in Oregon. Jack moved here to Oregon a few months after I did.
26 years later, I'm still doing this.
Here you are. And here's Jack.
I don't know, Jack. It reminds me of another fellow I was telling about running for governor. He said, well, I'll be for you or against you, whichever helped you the most. Any government that tells you that the solution to a present-day problem is doubling the prison population over the next 20 years has its head stuck where it's never going to discover the 1,000 points of light of George Bush. My opinion of it. These people's idea of future full employment is to make half of us prison guards and the other half prisoners. This man is an alien. He's not a conservative. He's an alien. He and Ronald Reagan both. They are willing to imprison a whole generation of people to keep intact the petrochemical and pharmaceutical monopolies in this country, of which he's well vested in each. And I think he's a vampire. I don't think he's an American. I think he's a vampire willing to suck the life out of all us victims in order to remain powerful and in a powerful position. But let me take this opportunity right here. Wherever this gets shown, let me tell you something. I am pleased and honored to be in the presence of one of the most brilliant men in the United States.
This gentleman next to you,
Jack Harrer is author of Emperor Wears No Clothes, and so much more than just an author. A researcher and a dedicated and diligent activist, and a man who I know for a fact is responsible for tens of thousands of people in this country being able to come out of the closet and stand up out of the darkness and stand up out of oppression and despair and lives of quiet desperation and be able to point to the source of knowledge and the truth and the point of light that this man right here is personally responsible for putting together. I would not be where I am today were it not for Jack Harrer, and I know that a lot of people would not be walking tall and with dignity and a sense of pride and a sense that they do no wrong by communicating with Mother Earth through the herb and in other fashions. And this man right here is responsible for as much of it as I know of. I'm sure other people deserve credit who have helped him out, but this man right here is one of the most brilliant people in the United States today, and I hope someday that this country and the people in it will reward him appropriately for what he's done for freedom and individuality and civil liberties and Mother Earth in this country. I want to take that opportunity right now.
Does that mean I get free grass for the rest of my life?
No, I was going to ask you that. Hell no, I got to make profit, son. I got to start rocking.
Here, let me show you something you can take back and we can give you better photos. This is Mr. Henry Ford in 1941 with Popular Mechanics magazine showing off his car made from hemp.
Oh, is that when the whole car itself was made from hemp?
And it says so right there in Popular Mechanics, 1941. Is that nice? One more nail in the car. That's an I mean, they should have never let us find that one.
Oh man, that is. Let me tell you right now, this is not the case of a blind hog snuffing out an acorn every once in a while. This is dedication and intelligence. You know, I think Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. This man right here has sweat his ass off.
Oh, yes, he certainly has.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a lot of good teachers. And this man wrote a book that I read that was one of the, really, him, Michael Aldrich, had written some of the greatest work on hemp long before I even really understood hemp. Well, he wrote it in '77. The Kentucky
Really?
the Kentucky, what was it?
Marijuana feasibility study.
It was fucking blew my mind away.
About that, yeah.
It was by adding that and that and the prospectus. So he is not somebody who needs to come to me to learn about hemp. I learned a lot of my hemp from him.
Wow. I was born in it, Jack.
Gatewood introduced me to Willie Nelson back in 1990. I'm so happy he did. He still count him as one of my friends.
That was shot in 1991 at Earth Day in San Francisco. I was sitting ready to interview Gatewood for the show, the Time for Hemp show. And we had gotten 2 questions into the interview, and Jack just came bursting onto the sound stage. You know how bombastic he was.
Yeah, I do. That was
and
the
word
I
he was all
was
excited.
used.
He had been trying to find this information about Henry Ford's car. He knew that it was out there to be found somewhere. He knew it was in a library. He knew it was.
He was so happy to find that, wasn't he?
And he found, and it came across the facts, and he came running out like he had just, found the diamond.
It was.
And,
it was.
That moment was caught there on film.
We have another clip with Jack and his partner Captain Ed. I met Captain Ed first in 1980, and he introduced me to Jack, and then the rest is history. But I want to announce that our next 2016 Hempstock Volunteer Meeting is scheduled for 5:30, June 30th, at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. That's the CRRH office, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, our political arm. So again, the doors open at 5:30. The meeting starts promptly at 6. There'll be some consumption after that, but it will be 5:30 at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. Next Friday, no, it's Thursday, June 30th. Thursday, June 30th. We have another very short little video that features Captain Ed Adair and Jack Harrer, 2 partners who brought many of us to the realization that we have to fight for hemp. Here's Jack and Ed.
Captain Ed and I have always hoped to have an army of petitioners of 1,000 or 1,500 people that one day are trained from day one. Freedom fighters and reefer raiders, maybe. Ronald Reagan said reefer people can never make the ballot, that our minds are too slow. Well, Ronnie, my mind's not too slow, and I don't have to read my lines.
That's right. That's right.
Now, do you think you're going to succeed?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you? Nobody can beat the truth. Can anybody beat the truth?
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not.
No way, man.
This man and I have been out there telling the truth, and nobody's ever said we're wrong. They keep arresting us 33 times. They have beaten us in jails. They have done physical things to me. I'm not going to describe on this air, but there's nothing that can beat a fact, and and I don't care how popular a president thinks he is, when people realize that he's killed off a planet and he's killed off the knowledge of a planet, and he's allowed millions of people to die prematurely and in pain and in misery, and has ruined the quality of life that can be gotten with a good, simple medicine that never killed anybody except at the hands of bad public policy and police carrying out bad public policy with a vengeance.
Amen. Thank you, Jack. You were that was you in a much skinnier
guy
with hair.
I had hair.
You had hair then.
But
that was 25 years ago.
Same attitude.
We're down
same
to just
hitting the
90
pipe.
seconds left, and John Cornette's going to play a few tunes while you can look at some bud pictures. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with a tape show next week and back live the following Friday. Tune in then and help us restore hemp.